Hey guys, Sean Pruitt here, president of Kingdom Exploration. It is getting completely crazy in the Middle East right now. So we here you can see Turkey here. Here's our military bases. We pulled out our military out of there, and just today, Trump said, "Hey, you better not do anything." Well, they're doing something. Turkish operation in northeastern Syria on Wednesday, October 9th. Today, the Kurdish-led SDF reported that Turkish warplanes were striking civilian areas. It has started, guys, and it's only going to get worse. Let's see what the news has to say.
And we do begin with breaking news. Turkey has launched a military offensive against the Kurds in northeastern Syria just days after President Trump said he was pulling U.S. troops out of the region who might have deterred this attack by Turkey. The Kurds have long waged a separatist movement that Turkey has violently sought to put down, but they've also been crucial partners to America, standing shoulder to shoulder with U.S. Special Forces in the fight against ISIS. Now those American forces are gone, and the Kurds are warning that the U.S. withdrawal has paved the way for their ethnic cleansing. Shortly after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan announced Operation Peace Spring on Twitter, warplanes from inside Turkey took off to strike their first Kurdish targets in northeastern Syria. Syrian Democratic Forces, comprised mostly of Kurdish fighters, reported airstrikes on civilian areas, sparking a huge panic and an exodus.
So now that we don't have U.S. military in the area, we were the police force in that area, controlling law out there. And even though we had such a small military presence in that area, if you mess with military forces, every country in the Middle East understands this. You mess with one civilian, one American military man dies, you're going to have to deal with the full brunt force of the American power. Now that we've pulled our military out of there, now it's no holds barred. So Turkey is performing their military strikes. Syria is going to start. Kurdish is going to start. And what do you think Russia's going to do? Russia backs Assad. Russia is inside Syria. What do you think he's going to do now? Now, I mean, Turkey went against Trump and what Trump said. What do you think Russia's going to do now? See, now they don't have the American control anymore. And so it's only going to continue to get worse out there. Let's watch.
Of people from the area. The Kurds say they are getting reports of civilian casualties from villages in this region, and Turkey says the operation is meant to drive out terrorists, which is what they call the Kurds, a key U.S. military ally, or maybe a former military ally. CNN's chief international correspondent Clarissa Ward is in northern Syria. So Clarissa, tell us what you were seeing.
So, Brianna, we were right on the outskirts of the town of Ras Al Ain in the aftermath of those first wave of strikes coming from Turkish artillery. We believe we saw thick black plumes of smoke of at least 6 different strike targets. The air was just thick with that smoke. There was a fire, also apparently a cotton factory that had caught fire after being hit by a strike. And then what we saw was this just overwhelming wave of civilians trying desperately to get out of this town, fearful for their lives. The streets choked with traffic, cars with mattresses.
So I'm gonna there's Fox does some coverage as well, of course, but look, it's only going to get worse out there. Saudi Arabia is probably scratching their heads because they've had the protection of the U.S. military for a long time. We're completely pulling out now, and without a U.S. military presence, there's absolutely going to be chaos. It's going to be completely chaotic. And Iran, what is Iran going to do now that it doesn't have that U.S. military presence up to the north? What do you think Russia's going to do? It's going to be very interesting, and there's going to be a lot of news about new military attacks from Saudi Arabia, Iran, from Syria, from Turkey, Kurdish forces, Houthi forces. It's going to be interesting.
To the Reuters bureau chief for Turkey, Dominic Evans, who's live with us now from Istanbul. Dominic, thank you. And can you speak to what Jennifer just said, this possibility of those ISIS fighters, some 10,000 of them potentially being released?
Well, there are a huge number of ISIS fighters being held by the SDF forces. Those are the Kurdish forces that were allied with the United States and have been fighting with US support against Islamic State in Syria for the last 2 years. They have got thousands of captives in their territory. What is not clear at this stage is how many of those are being held in facilities that are within the area that the Turkish armed forces will be going into. Turkey has said initially what it wants to do is create a security zone that's about 20 miles deep inside Syria, and its main target has been the Kurdish YPG forces there. But if it goes much further, it is likely to come into areas where ISIS captives are being held.
What can you tell us the latest on the invasion that's happening now and the status of civilians in that area?
Well, this is developing as we speak. I mean, the first we heard about this was about 4 o'clock local time, about 6 hours ago, when there were sounds of explosions at 2 Syrian border towns right on the border with Turkey. Since then, we've learnt about strikes in several other towns, one of them about 20 miles inside Syria, and 2 others on the extremes, if you like, of this long 300-mile strip, border strip between the 2 countries, so off to the east and to the west. So the artillery strikes and the air strikes are happening against several targets spread over a wide area at the moment.
I guess we'll know when we know. Dominic, for many years now, the United States has held up these Kurdish fighters in the east, the northeast of Syria, as really our best partners on the ground in the fight against ISIS. Even in the darkest days of the spreading caliphate, it was those Kurdish fighters whom the United States held up as really the saviors of the fight against ISIS. And I wonder what you know about their reaction, their leaders' reaction to being abandoned by the United States.
Well, there's a lot of anger. I mean, they've described this as betrayal. They've described it as a stab in the back. As you say, for years they fought with US backing against Islamic State. And this Turkish offensive, which is taking place today, has come despite long warnings from Turkey. In effect, it's come very, very quickly following the phone call between Presidents Trump and Erdogan at the weekend on Sunday. So it's very dramatic, it's fast-paced, and for the Kurdish fighters, who, as you say, have been fighting with the United States for years and years, it's a moment of deep disappointment and betrayal.
I have just seconds left, but from your extensive knowledge of the region, living and working, reporting in that region for so many years, how would the Russian President Vladimir Putin view the current events?
Well, on one level, I mean, Russia has said it wasn't informed about this. It's not approving it in any way. On one level, there is a potential for the Russians who support President Bashar al-Assad to gain from this if it leads to chaos elsewhere in eastern Syria, which is currently under the Kurdish control, the SDF control. That would give an opportunity for the Damascus government, backed by Russia, to move into some of the territory that they've not been able to control for a very long time in this long 8-year war.
Dominic Evans, the Reuters bureau chief there in Istanbul and a longtime correspondent of the region. We appreciate the partnership.
So obviously it's going to benefit Russia. Turkey feels like they're stabbed in the back by America. That's why they went against Trump, and we don't care. I mean, we've been protecting Turkey, Saudi Arabia. We were the world police for years, and we're pulling out, and that's creating a massive vacuum. Saudi Arabia, the only reason why we protected Saudi Arabia was because they were selling our oil in U.S. currency. Back then, our currency was not the #1 currency in the world. Now, 95% of the worldwide transactions is done by the central banking system, by U.S. currency. We don't need Saudi Arabia anymore. We don't need Saudi Arabia. We don't need anybody in the Middle East. And where Russia comes into play, why would Russia want to be involved in the Middle East, in Syria, and these other countries. Do you think Russia actually cares about the people in the Middle East? No, he only cares about Russians. He only cares about his Russian values. It's all about the oil. It's all about energy. It's all about oil and energy dominance. And every country knows that the best way to win a war is take away the things that fund the war. They're going to attack military forces, yes, but the second objective is to attack oil. Just like when the Houthis attacked the Saudi Arabian oil refineries and oil producing plants. And so if you look here, a good portion of our oil is produced. So we're producing 15 million a day right now, thanks to Shell. Saudi Arabia, 12 million a day. Russia, 10.8 million. Iraq, 4.4 million. Iran, 3.9 million. China, 3.9. Canada, 3.6. Okay, so here's the UAE, Kuwait. Okay, I'm just looking at OPEC now. Venezuela, 2.2. See, what year was this? I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, this is updated. Mexico, we're not worried about them. Nigeria, 1.9 million. And so if you look here, all the OPEC, those are all the ones in the Middle East, in the area. Libya, 1 point. So we've got a tremendous amount of oil being produced in that area. 12 million, 18 million, 20 million, 23 million, 25 million, 27 million, 29 million, 32 million, 33 million, 34 million. So we've got about 34 million barrels a day being produced in the Middle East. Now, that's a lot of oil. And all of that oil is now at risk because we have created a vacuum, and it's only creating chaos. You've already seen the news of the new invasions. And what do you think? What do you think Russia's doing? What do you think Syria is doing? What do you think Iran is doing? What do you think Saudi Arabia is doing right now? What do you think the Kurdish forces are doing? They're all preparing. They're preparing for an attack, and they're preparing to be attacked. And so you're going to see a tremendous amount of escalation in the Middle East. It's anybody's game right now. A lot of opportunities that have opened up for Russia. And so I'm very, again, I don't want people to die. Obviously, I don't want civilians to die. I don't want people to die. But, this isn't America, guys. Okay, we have peace out here. Okay, worst thing we have in America is people attacking our president, the Democrats attacking the Republicans, and road rage. In the Middle East, people's heads are getting cut off. It's crazy out there, guys, and we're not out there to police that anymore. People, Iran or the Houthis, they're afraid to drop a bomb on an American establishment. Why? Because they know they're going to have to deal with the full brunt force of America. And so Russia's afraid of it. Turkey's afraid of it. Everybody's afraid to attack America because they know you mess with America, you mess with the full brunt force of the most powerful military in the world. But now that we're pulling out, it doesn't matter where they bomb. They're not afraid to drop bombs in the wrong place or the right place. So bottom line, it's going to get chaotic. And what happens in the Middle East when it gets chaotic? Oil prices go up. Okay? Even at current oil prices, I think today they're, let me get the exact price here. I think they're around $52 a barrel right now. I'm sure it's going to be escalating with the tensions. So right now we're at $53 a barrel. Okay. Now, again, everybody's putting faith in Shell. Shell oil cannot maintain its current output. The decline curve of Shell is massive. The oil in OPEC, in Saudi Arabia, in Libya, and these other countries, they are conventional. Conventional oil plays can produce 30, 40 years. Okay. Shell plays, they could produce 20 years, but at 10% of what they originally produced. And the decline curve is massive. Day one, they could be doing 1,000 barrels a day. And then day 100, they could be doing 100 barrels a day. So they drop tremendously. So in order to maintain that output, the 10 million barrels a day that Shell is producing right now, in order to maintain those numbers, you got to drill a lot of shale. You got to drill a lot of shale. But all that money is being depleted. They're not drilling shells. Shell jobs are being, I know I have a lot of friends in the oil business that are in Shell that they're staying home with their kids right now because they don't have any work. There's a lot of shale plays that are being evacuated right now because at $50-something a barrel, you cannot make money. A frac on a shale play costs $5, $6, $7 million. A conventional oil well costs less than that. And then you got to pay for the cost of drilling. And then there's lease acquisition. So there's a lot of shale companies going out of business. So my point is that we're going to see a major decline in shale in a very, very quickly, okay? And on top of that, we're going to have increased tensions in the Middle East. And it just takes one bomb on a key oil facility to really see things really start to escalate. And that's the juggler. That's the source of the money to pay for this war. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. My number's at the top there. Give me a call anytime. Thanks.